Good evening. Welcome to Trending at 10 p.m. I'm Vishnu Shom. On the program this evening, the latest on the Rafale controversy with reports that executives at Dassault, the French manufacturer of the jet, had no choice but to pick the Anil Ambani Reliance Defence as an offset partner. The claim, which appeared in a French publication, has been denied by Dassault. But what is clear is this: allegations of cronyism, what many would say is just pure simple corruption in the deal, don't seem to be going away. Also on the show tonight, Impact NDTV after our show last week on pollution allegedly caused by Graphite India's plant in Whitefield in Bengaluru. The Supreme Court takes cognizance of the case. It comes up tomorrow. The big question: will residents at Whitefield finally be able to do without the black dust? You can see that there in that screen all around them. Dust which isn't ordinary pollution but possibly graphite deposits. Essentially the same stuff that you have in a pencil. That's all coming up, but first, the top stories that we are tracking at this stage. The politics over Rafale getting more and more bitter. Rahul Gandhi calls the Prime Minister corrupt. The BJP calls the Gandhi family a family of middlemen. If women complain to us, we will ask the government to investigate Minister MJ Akbar. That's what the National Commission of Women tells NDTV. Me Too gains momentum in Bollywood as well. Amir Khan refuses to work with a director accused of sexual harassment. Income tax officials raid the home of Raghav Bahl, the owner of the news website Quint. Our lead story: an all-out attack against Prime Minister Modi by the Congress President Rahul Gandhi, who said the Prime Minister is just the Prime Minister of Anil Ambani. Mr. Gandhi's attack comes just hours after a French media report said that the aerospace company Dassault had to select Anil Ambani's company for a joint venture as a mandatory trade-off to win the 59,000 crore Rafale deal. The BJP has dismissed the allegation, saying, why should we consider anything from the Gandhis, which is the family of middlemen?
Has said India's Prime Minister is corrupt. पता लगा अंबानी के प्रधानमंत्री हैं. ये हिंदुस्तान के प्रधानमंत्री नहीं है युवाओं. और सुना है निर्मला सीतारमण जी फ्रांस गई हैं. पता नहीं क्या बड़ी इमरजेंसी है फ्रांस में कि डिफेंस मिनिस्टर को फ्रांस में जाके डैसोल्ट फैक्ट्री जाना है. तो आप इमेजिन कर सकते हैं क्या हो रहा है.
A scathing attack by Congress chief Rahul Gandhi, a day after the French journal Mediapart accessed internal documents of Dassault, which makes the Rafale fighter. Mediapart says these documents indicate that there was a trade-off. The Anil Ambani-led Reliance Defence were made joint venture partners in India in order for Dassault to win the 8.7 billion euro deal for the jets.
Oui, la contrepartie, c'est je donne quelque chose à quelqu'un et en retour, il me donne autre chose. Ça vient briser toutes les explications du gouvernement indien qui nous explique depuis des semaines.
But Dassault contests this interpretation. In a statement, the French company says, Dassault Aviation has freely chosen to make a partnership with India's Reliance Group. In compliance with French regulations, Chief Operating Officer Loic Sagalen informed on May 11, 2017, the Central Works Council of the creation of the DRAL joint venture in order to fulfill some of the offset's commitment. The controversy at a time when Defence Minister Nirmala Sitharaman is in Paris on a 3-day visit, where she is also expected to visit the Dassault factory which manufactures the Rafale jets, 36 of which have been ordered by India. Defence Ministry sources point out that this is a pre-planned visit based on a March 2018 agreement for an annual defence dialogue at the level of ministers. And the BJP hit back, saying, how can a family of middlemen attack us?
You will not be successful. आपका परिवार मिडलमैन का परिवार है. आपने जीवन भर मिडलमैनशिप देखा है अपने परिवार के अंदर, इसलिए शायद आप उससे बाहर नहीं आ पा रहे हैं. But we stand firmly with truth.
In this back and forth of allegations, the central question as to why and how Reliance and Anil Ambani were chosen as an important offset partner remains unanswered. In the meantime, we are also hearing that a distraction could be on its way, perhaps a test flight of a Rafale jet assembled according to India's specifications. But we will have to wait and see what the Indian Defence Minister says about her visit in Paris. Nupur Tiwari for NDTV.
Well, since that report, Nupur has actually managed to get a reaction from Nirmala Sitharaman. Mrs. Sitharaman has refuted arguments that the government was pushing for the Anil Ambani Group to be joint venture partner in the Rafale deal. According to Ms. Sitharaman, the government of India need not be aware of the name of the companies involved in the offset component of the deal.
In an intergovernmental agreement, there are no mentions of any individual firms. So till such a time the OEM approaches us, we wouldn't know with whom they would go for their offset obligation fulfillment. And because it's a governmental agreement between France, the French government and the Indian government, there is no name mentioned, and this offset obligation may be mandatory, but the names of the companies are not mandatory for me. The visit to Dassault is on invitation, and also I'm a buyer, so I would definitely go and see the progress of the work.
Well, joining us now, Nupur Tiwari, joining us from Paris. Nupur, you know, the central point over here are the latest allegations of cronyism, crony capitalism. Some people would say, forget those words, just call it corruption. But is there something which is actually lost in translation? And the reason I say this is because there are two views over here. On the one hand, you've got Mediapart with their latest article which say that, look, there was an absolute, the documents they have seem to indicate a quid pro quo. We'll give you the Rafale deal, but you have to ensure that this particular group is the joint venture partner. On the other hand, the interpretation from Dassault and others is that no, there was a procedure that needed to be followed. People in France needed to be told that this is what happens in India, where the offset work has to take place. So is something lost in translation? I think that's the question.
If you allow me, Vishnu, let me start by the procedural part of it. And now I think we are at that point where we need to understand the answers that are being given. So when I asked Ms. Sitharaman the question, she said that the government could actually be oblivious of who the offset partners were, and they had no role to play in it. But remember that the very procedures that she was referring to, there are certain mandatory eligibility procedures in there that require the approval of government authorities. And there are also things like 6 monthly reports that have to be given to the Defence Offset Management Wing. Now, to come around and say that the government is completely oblivious of who the offset partners seems extremely confusing and actually even incorrect as far as my reading goes. Also because if we were to look at Mr. Ambani saying that, okay, my lack of experience in defense manufacture doesn't matter, well then how is it that he was given the offset licenses? Because these licenses, if he is only manufacturing the wings for the Falcon private jet, well then this is a kind of breach because he doesn't qualify or is not eligible, because he should be able to manufacture parts that are related to defense equipment. So many questions like that related will emerge out of this answer that Ms. Sitharaman has given to us to NDTV here in Paris. Also, we wonder whether her visit over here is going to somehow lead to talks with Dassault. Who knows, perhaps to even eliminate Mr. Ambani, given that the government is in hot water now. Remember, Vishnu, that the deal with S-400, Russian deal of S-400s also eliminated Mr. Ambani. And now coming to the Mediapart point, the Mediapart journalists and the document that they acquired, I have seen that part where this bit is mentioned, and the Mediapart journalists also stick to the point saying that this obligation is not referring to just a general offset obligation as part of the agreement, but very specifically only to the Reliance joint venture with Dassault, that this particular joint venture was an obligation.
All right, we'll leave it over there. Nupur, thanks very much for joining us with those details. We're quickly going to move on to another one of our big stories, in fact, the big focus on trending this evening. pollution in Whitefield in Bengaluru. Now, if you have been watching this program, you would know that we did a show on this. We did a show on this last week, and in that show we identified and we were able to show just how Whitefield in Bengaluru is very badly polluted. Polluted not just ordinary pollution, but through a black grime. And the allegation which has been made by people in the area is that this is graphite dust, possibly something called refugee dust. We'll explain what that means, from a Graphite India plant which is in the area. The Supreme Court has now taken note of the points which were made in that particular program. It's been raised in the Supreme Court. It comes up tomorrow, and that's what we're looking at today. But just to remind our viewers of what this particular issue is all about, let's take a look at the story.
Black soot settling on every available surface, in homes, offices, and even a hospital close to the Graphite India factory in Bengaluru. Repeated cleaning yields the same shiny black graphite dust. After NDTV's report on the impact of pollution on residents living around the Graphite India factory in Bengaluru's bustling Whitefield, the Supreme Court has issued a notice to the factory and will take up the case on Friday. Residents have been struggling and complaining about the pollution for decades, but despite repeated notices from authorities, the factory did not clean up its act.
There are so many reactions to that. We will definitely look into those issues in the Whitefield area.
Residents have been monitoring the pollution levels.
We have actually developed a locally indigenous air quality monitoring unit called Air Care. We have a unit present right here and in 12 other locations across Whitefield, and we have been tracking air quality data per 5-minute interval. This is RxDX.
This is where we are right now, the hospital area.
Right now. And the data showed it's 95. Above 60 to 60 to 90, it is actually bad for those people with sensitive respiratory conditions. Above 90, it's hazardous, right? And we've had readings close to 255 at 2 a.m. in the morning.
The concerns of the residents of Whitefield were brought to the court's notice by an expert panel, which said the factory was not using imported pet coke as it was meant to be doing.
You know, NDTV's Maya Sharma had done an excellent story covering the pollution problem in Whitefield near Bangalore. It was coming from a company called Graphite India. Now, Graphite India had been given specific permission to import pet coke, needle pet coke. We at EPCA called the company. We also called the Pollution Control Board, Karnataka Pollution Control Board, to our office. The Supreme Court has taken very strong notice of this and has now summoned Graphite India on Friday.
Graphite India will respond on Friday, when the court will also examine whether to cancel the permission given to the company for importing pet coke.
Residents of Whitefield have been trying for years to get this factory to clean up its act, but they're still waiting. They're still waiting for cleaner air. With JM Kumar, Maya Sharma in Bengaluru for NDTV.
Well, joining us now is Zibi Jamal, member of Whitefield Rising. She's been leading residents and people in that area for a long time now in trying to clear up this area. Danish Ali, National General Secretary of the JDS, and we're also joined by Devi Goenka, Executive Trustee of the Conservation Action Trust. I'd like to thank all of you very much for joining us. Zibi, how much things can change within 1 week? We were talking about how frustrating the entire issue is for you, but now it's going to be heard in the Supreme Court. It's going to be heard tomorrow. How do you react to the fact that this issue of dust and dirt in that area, which you've raised for so long, will now be addressed by the highest court of the land? Zibi, can you hear me? All right, she can't hear us. If we can just try and get Zibi back. But I want to go across to Danish Ali. Mr. Danish Ali, this is an issue that no political party in Karnataka for such a long time has been able to address. Did it really have to go to the Supreme Court to address this issue? Don't you believe more should have been done politically, irrespective of the party in power?
No, Vishnu, I do agree. More is needed and more was needed to do it politically. But the fact of the matter is, when this Graphite India was established there, it was not in the part of the city, the population was not there. But in the recent years, that Whitefield area has been totally, it has become a most populated area, upcoming townships are there, and definitely people can't live in that environment of pollution, and we have to take a call, and the government and the party is totally with the people. Whatever in the interest of the people's health, the government is going to do that and stand by that. Let tomorrow the court hearing takes place. Whatever the directions will be there, it is going to be implemented.
Okay, do we have Zibi Jamal? All right, I'm told we have some audio problems. We'll try. We must get her. So if we can just quickly try and raise her once again. Devi Goenka, could you tell us about the issue of pet coke? Because the point which has been mentioned over here is this plant at some capacity uses domestic pet coke, and that is extremely polluting. We will bring you a reaction from Graphite India as well. But before we do that, why is pet coke so polluting?
The pet coke that is probably being used is high in sulfur, and the pollution control measures that the factory is required to install are probably not in place. And you know, at the end of the day, companies like this want to make money, and they would want to make money at the cost of spending money on pollution control devices. And you know, this argument that the factory was set up many years ago, and at that point of time there were no residential complexes around, is actually humbug. The planning authorities and the government should never have allowed these residential complexes to come up around the factory, or they should have relocated the factory. And in fact, the same problem is happening in Mumbai and other parts of the country, where commercial complexes, residential complexes have been allowed to come up next to hazardous and polluting industries. And at the end of the day, it is the residents who suffer. And as you can see from your visual, if everything in the house is coated with black and you are inhaling that black powder day in and day out, it is going to cause serious health problems as well, besides destroying all your clothes and equipment and other things also. At the end of the day, I think the Pollution Control Board in Karnataka is not doing its job. The government is not sincere about protecting its residents, and obviously there is some kind of thing happening between the factory and the politicians, so that the factory has been allowed to operate under these kind of conditions for such a long time.
I just want to tell you what Graphite India has to say, because we've reached out to them. They say that they've actually, in a statement, they've said they've informed the anti-pollution body about a proactive decision to halt processes in sequence by the end of October 2018 for revamping. Revamping work will be completed by November 2018. This will take care of all observations of the anti-pollution body. Domestic pet coke, imported needle coke are not used in the plant. However, domestic pet coke is used only as a supplementary packing material and not as a fuel. That's what they said. We asked them whether they wanted to come on this program today, and in the past they've chosen not to do that. Zibi Jamal, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
All right. Zibi, so much has changed in 1 week. We were discussing this in 1 week, and tomorrow the highest court in the land is going to be hearing your complaints. How would you react to that? Do you believe there would finally be a sense of justice for all of you fighting for your health?
I hope there is justice. I think this has been a 20+ year campaign to get Graphite India to behave. They're saying that they are revamping, they are going to be upgrading their facilities. This is something that we have been asking them to do since 10 years. The residents who fought from 2009 onwards have been raising complaints. Like you saw the pictures of the roof that people have shared, that Maya Sharma took videos of. Those were not repaired, and I think in the notice that they sent the NSC and the BSC, they said they have not repaired the roof because of unseasonal rains. Unseasonal rains for 6+ years, that was a question that Chairman Lakshman asked the spokespeople who accompanied him during the inspection at Graphite India, and they had no answer. It's asbestos sheets that they had to kind of replace. So right now we are hoping that this is good news. We are hoping that Graphite India will listen, and they will do what they need to do to control pollution.
We're just going to play out some of these shots. and run us through this, because this is what people in the area encounter. They put their finger, it's not just normal dust, and this is something you say collects every single day. Zibi, this is what you're talking about, right?
Correct. I mean, and this is not this is every hour of the day. This is the shot that you have right here is from RXTX Hospital, which is bang opposite Graphite India factory here in Whitefield. Every single day. So every single day they have to clean every hour. The shot is from the cafeteria, and you can see how black it is. It's black dust across the place. It's on leaves. It's on all the farm. It's on the patio. It's on the terrace. Kids can't go out to play, because if they go to the play area, it has at 4 o'clock in the evening, before the kids come to play, they have to wipe it down. They have to clean it. Otherwise, when the kids go out to play, it's all black on their hands. It's quite a terrible situation.
Mr. Danish Ali, in terms of enforcement, assuming that the Supreme Court actually rules on the need to clean up this particular area, is this something that the state government can do more on to monitor?
Definitely, the state government has taken note of it, and the state government officials are monitoring the situation. And as I have already confessed on your show, that more needs to be done, and the present government headed by Mr. H.D. Kumaraswamy is taking it very seriously. Whatever according to the laws is permissible, we are going to stand by the people of that locality, because there cannot be a compromise on the health issues of the people of that area.
Devi Goenka, would you say that this is actually callousness on the part of the industry, that it may not necessarily be about the fuel they use, given the statement that they've actually made, saying that they don't use it anymore in all of their fuels? Domestic pet coke is used only as a supplementary packing material, just to retain the physical form of the electrode and not as a fuel. That's the statement they've given us. If this is the case, then why does this pollution still take place? Is it because of accidental emissions, refugee gases? What would you say?
I think that's a question that can only be answered if one inspects the factory. But looking at the visuals, it seems that the factory is in a very dilapidated condition. There is no concept of housekeeping, and if the factory was established decades ago, I'm quite sure that the pollution control measures required to operate the factory in a safe manner were never really put into place. And at the end of the day, I think if they promise to clean up the act, promises are one thing. We've discovered in the past that very often even court orders are not implemented, and it's astonishing that the politicians only seem to wake up and want to confess one day before the Supreme Court is taking up this matter for hearing. I think if this had been done 10 years ago, we probably wouldn't have been facing this kind of situation. It's really very unfortunate that we have to keep going to the courts to get the courts to do the job that government should be doing. And after the courts do this, then the government complains of judicial overreach, and it's a really sad situation in which the citizens of the country keep suffering.
Right.
I really hope that the Supreme Court cracks down on this and makes sure that the citizens don't suffer anymore.
All right. Well, let's hope that there is a cleanup, irrespective of what the Supreme Court says. Any self-respecting company anywhere in the country has an obligation to citizens in the area. And Zibi, one can only hope that the battle that you have been fighting with, along with so many other residents in that area, ends sooner than later. I'd like to thank you very much for joining us. We're completely out of time on Trending. Do stay tuned to NDTV 24/7.